Welcome to this podcast called The Initiation. My name is Marian Banu, and now we have the official introduction of our special guest tonight. She graduated 1992 from Queen's University Belfast in human medicine. In 1996, she became a family doctor and currently works in palliative medicine in both hospital and hospice settings. In 2000, she qualified as a yoga teacher and a Reiki master, and she has studied with the British Medical Acupuncture Society and the London Homeopathic Hospital. She is an NLP practitioner and provides emotional freedom therapy for her clients, as well as a range of energy therapies, which truly help clients develop insight into their highest potential. And she has studied with the Modern Mystery School, the School of Metaphysics and Advanced Spiritual Training, for more than 10 years. And the training she did has been enormous. And thanks to her dedication, she is a healer, guide, ritual master, Wiccan priestess, and Egyptian priestess, which I find amazing, in the lineage of King Solomon. And she serves as a member of the Council of 12, leads the Modern Mystery School Ireland, the country, I hope I'm right, she's born and lives, and she's often consulted as a medical expert in the media, including Yahoo, Cosmopolitan, and Glamour. And not to forget that she is an author of the Amazon bestseller and also her latest passion project, Once Upon a Tinder. She says, "We are so much more than this physical body, and our comprehension of healing requires an understanding that must go beyond this physical body." And who else can talk more about the union of metaphysics and medicine than you, with your lifelong experience in both? It is the ultimate pleasure for me to know you and to have you here on the show, Dr. Ann Donnelly.
Oh my gosh, Marian, thank you for having me. That's a beautiful introduction. It's an honor to be here with you today.
Amazing. Dr. Ann, as I said in this introduction, you studied medicine, you worked as a medical doctor, and then you also came to metaphysics. Can we have a little insight in your life, how you went from this to this?
Well, it's a really interesting question, Marian, because for many years, first of all, I'll start with my childhood, because I grew up on a farm, and in that realm, I witnessed the life-death cycle up very, very close when I was younger. And I became very sick myself when I was 6 years old. And at that time, I had my appendix out, and I didn't quite realize the impact that was going to have on my future choices in my career. But when I came to study medicine eventually, I was, first of all, very struck by the amount of information that I had to take in. It was very mind-driven. Up until that point in my life, I went with my gut. I went with my heart. And I found when I came into medicine that it was all very logical mind. And I had to think about health and healing from a very structured point of view, which was interesting. But at my third year, I met my first patient. And at that time, I remember my heart just blew open when I met this individual, and I realized, oh my gosh, the first 3 years of studying medicine, this is why I'm actually here, because of the people and because of what I wanted to do, which was to bring healing and understanding of health and well-being to people. But it wasn't until after I became a GP and I was sitting there with my plaque on the wall saying, you know, I have the ability now to write these prescriptions for my patients, that I realized when people came through the door, they came through with many, many, many different problems. And it wasn't always something I could write a prescription for. And I was very, very keen to be able to help. But I didn't know how. I didn't have all the answers. Yes, I was able to send to counseling for certain things that had happened in people's lives. But I knew there was something deeper. I knew there were questions that needed answered that were deeper. And so first of all, I went exploring myself. And you're right, I did become a yoga teacher. I went down the path of becoming a Reiki master. I went down various different paths, exploring acupuncture, homeopathy. But I found that each one built on the other. And I had this big bag of tools. But it wasn't until I personally stepped into a meditation class in Belfast in 2006 that it changed everything. Because the way I would describe it was, up until that point, I felt as if I had been swimming in a paddling pool of knowledge. But suddenly, when I stepped into that meditation class, which was with the Modern Mystery School, that I realized that the ocean just opened up in front of me. It was this incredible vastness of knowledge around healing, but in particular, getting to know oneself. And so I started to explore it initially for myself. I think we all come to various different healing modalities because we want to know more. We want to know about, first of all, we want to heal ourselves. Then, we want to know a little bit more about it. How does this work? And so what fascinated me about the Modern Mystery School was that there was a path, a path of progression where I could embark on. And I felt myself really drawn to the mysteries that were within the school. Because up until that point, I had witnessed the life-death cycle. I had seen it over and over again, first of all, in a very simplified form as a child and from a farming background. To, as I grew older, some of my friends passed when I was in school. And then again, in medical school, I was working with patients with life-limiting illness. And eventually in general practice, I was faced with these things as well. And I was faced with people asking me big questions in life, big, important questions in life that I realized I didn't have the answer to. I knew that the answer was inside them. And I didn't know how to help them to unlock that for themselves.
Yeah.
And it wasn't until I stepped on the mystery school path and started to unlock that for myself that I realized that that is possible for everyone. Absolutely everyone on this planet. And that is why I am so passionate about this work. And that is why I work both in Ireland and internationally as a teacher, teaching these tools so that people can do this for themselves as well.
I thank you so much for this insight in your life, and I think also for a lot of people from who have a medical background can really relate to this, and also people who have experienced life and death, the cycle of it. But up to your work within the Modern Mystery School, can you give us an insight about how you can help people also with that? Because I heard from that your heart was blooming working with people directly.
Yes, Marion. So the first thing I had when I went to the mystery school was a life activation. And then I went very quickly to Empower Thyself, which is a 2-day course, which has initiation as well. So for me, both came very close together. And when I discovered this, when I noticed that, first of all, the life activation opened up something inside me. And I wasn't quite sure what that was, but it was a beautiful experience for me. I felt more balanced. I felt less stressed. And I felt at the time this sense of something very spiritual had happened. But I couldn't put that into words. So that was how it felt for me. And so I wanted to learn more about this. And my guide, Martina Coogan, advised me to go to the Empower Thyself class. And so when I arrived at the Empower Thyself class, I didn't really know what to expect. But during those 2 days, I received teachings and tools that taught me a lot more about energy and about how I could have an effect on the energy of my energy, how I could manage my energy. And this was very, very important to me because at the time I was working in palliative medicine, and my beautiful patients were facing life-limiting illness, and I felt really drained, very tired at the end of a day's work. And I wanted to know how to manage that. And these tools made such a shift in that, because I was able to hold space very, very differently. By using the tools daily, I was able to hold myself in a much more energized state and able to relate to people. I was still able to relate to people, to empathize, and to really help them with expressing themselves and what was going on. But I was able to do it in a way that I wasn't losing myself in that. I wasn't losing my energy in that. I was still remaining strong and able to help them become stronger with that. And that made a massive difference to me and my medical practice at the time. And so, of course, I wanted to know more. And from there, I decided to go to Healers Academy, and I was in the first Healers Academy in Ireland in 2006. And the preparation for that was very strict because I had to attend 4 other classes actually. The first was sacred geometry, which taught me how to use 3 divine keys to change the energy of a physical structure so that it could support me and whatever I was doing in that structure. That could be everyday living, or it could be the healing work I was doing, or it could be the medical practice that I had, or it could be teaching the class that I was teaching at the time. So whatever it was, I felt so in a container that really helped me to impart information at a much deeper level for the participants. And that was incredible. As a healer teacher, that made a massive difference to me as well. And that's only a 3-hour class, and it had a huge impact. And then there was the Astral travel class, which gave me an insight into the vastness of my spiritual being. Those aspects of myself that where I could travel consciously and safely to spaces that were outside my physical being. And that was a whole other area of learning. And then there was the Journeys of the Spirit, which was an incredible class of meditation after meditation after meditation, a full day of meditation, again, giving me a knowledge of the different levels of awareness that are possible for me as a human being, and connecting to beings that were able to help me in my understanding of how I can be greater than this physical existence. Now, I will admit, when I came to the school in the very, very beginning, there was part of me that just loved that escapism, that just loved to meditate. But when the wonderful thing about the school is that it gives you practical tools. So you can use them in your everyday life so that you can actually function better in our physical world as well. And that is really, really important. So the next class was about the 12 races of Earth. And this really gave me an insight before I went to Healers Academy about our incredible brothers and sisters of other dimensions that live alongside us and live in this physical world as well with us, and that give us understanding of why we're so diverse as human beings as well. So when I came to Healers Academy, I was well prepared for this 5-day amazing presence in a temple, a King Solomon healing temple.
Yeah.
And this is the only time in the mystery school, when we open this temple is at Healers Academy. And during that time, I can say that the increase in awareness of myself personally, the insights that I got during those 5 days, the tools that were handed down, I was given a very special tool during those 5 days, and that was my wand, whereby I could thereby bring light into this physical world for another human being and do a life activation for another person, was sincerely the greatest gift I think I have given to myself.
Yes.
And then to be able to give that gift to another human being, it's totally remarkable. And I know that, you know, when I'm talking about this, if it seems like a lot for some people, if you never ever do anything else, any other healing modality in the entirety of your life, please have a life activation. Because for me, as a life activation practitioner, that and a healer of different modalities, that is the core healing modality that I recommend to all of my clients, because it balances so much. In Healers Academy, you learn about these different structures that we have connected to the physical body. Because up until, you know, when I was working in my medical career, I was learning about the physical body, you know, all the way down to the cellular level, and all the various different ways in which that can go into dysfunction, and how we can use our Western medicine to make that better. Now, in our modern day world, I notice that my patients are more and more sensitive to regular medications. And I have noticed that when I use the tools that I've been blessed with in my studies through the mystery school, that it makes such a difference in people's understanding of what true healing is, what the true essence of healing is. Because we really need to, well, start to know ourselves, truly know the essence of ourselves and our capabilities. Somewhere in the future, I like to think of ourselves as using the medicine of the mystery school as our everyday medicine. Yes. Because I'd love to think of our planet as being environmentally cleaned up, because we've finally taken responsibility for our environment. I'd love us to be at a level where we're finally taking responsibility for our brothers and sisters as a family in this world, where we're helping each other to become educated, we're moving out of poverty, where all of us are at a point where we are beginning to evolve together. Because while people are still struggling on this planet to put bread in their mouths, or you know, to understand the basics of education and to be able to work for a living and to be able to work in a way that or to express themselves, and that they're not living under oppression, we need this for our entire human family. And through my studies at the mystery school, I've realized that the answer to this isn't going to be necessarily with a governmental level, although our governments can help us, and certainly there are some governments who are managing things better around the world than others. We still need people to wake up for everyone to have that realization that each of us can do something. And this awakening that comes through the life activation helps us hugely to learn what our life purpose is.
Yeah.
And because we're talking about our DNA, it's individual. Every individual has an individual purpose on this planet. And that's what's so exciting about it. You know, we're not all meant to be the same. And that is such a big piece in our world today. People who are different are looking at each other as if we're aliens, but we're not, because we are all, you know, part of the human race together.
Yes, we are.
And so that diversity is what we need to celebrate.
Yeah.
We need to celebrate that incredible individuality, and yet that connectivity. And the connectivity comes through our spiritual connection. You know, we feel very isolated when we have these physical bodies, because we think this is it. If we think that this meat and bones is literally it, then we feel as if we're alone. And of course, COVID-19 has taught us a lot about that, because we've had to be isolated, you know, some of us more than others, depending on the way our countries have been affected and the way our governments have had to manage the situation. And because that is the case, we've felt more isolated than ever before. We haven't been able necessarily to hug each other the way we have had before, or to feel that connectivity. And that has made us think differently. And as that has made us think differently, we've maybe become more questioning about the way we live our lives, and questioning more about the sustainability of our health systems, the way that they're set up, the way that they are. And even questioning the way that our education systems are set up the way they are. I know certainly here in the UK and Ireland, we've had difficulty, you know, each time we have a member of our classrooms sick or diagnosed positive, the entire class has to isolate, and therefore parents have to isolate, and it's caused a lot of disruption to education and to work and to all of these things. So how can we sustain ourselves? How can we keep our spirits high? How can we manage our thinking? How can we manage when we're not thriving the way that we necessarily have been in the past? We have to think differently. We have to manage things differently. And in the mystery school, we talk about this phenomenon called Shambhala, which is our true mission here in the mystery school, which is to establish the foundations of Shambhala, which is peace on earth.
Yeah. Dr. Ann, this is also a question I wanted to ask you.
Yes, Marion.
About dropping the word Shambhala and world peace, and also the true essence of healing. Having these three words, these three things together, how can you bring that together? The essence of healing, what has this in common with Shambhala and world peace? Can you give us insight in that?
Okay, well, coming from Northern Ireland, peace has been something that's been on our lips for a very, very long time. And we live in, you know, a very divided society. But if we look within ourselves, we realize there are many, many divisions inside each one of us. And if we begin to think about true healing, we need to think about inner healing. And what does that mean? What does that look like? And in a sense, that inner peace, where does peace come from? Where will peace come from in the outside of our world? Well, if we do bring it all back to ourselves, we notice sometimes that there is a war going on inside us. Maybe in the way that we think about things, maybe the way that we relate to each other, maybe the way that we think about ourselves. Maybe even when we look in the mirror, what do we think about ourselves? What are we thinking about ourselves each day? And the healing, the peace, all of that begins inside each one of us. Because it's very, very easy to point the finger at other people, because we can see other people. Because if we think about our eyes, they look out. And sometimes it's a scary thing to look in, because we don't want to see ourselves. We don't want to do the work. And this all starts with something so simple as a gift of a life activation to yourself. Because number one, it brings balance to the energetic structures that are connected to our physical body. And as that happens, we begin to relax. We begin to relax energetically. If we think about ourselves every day, we are so tied up in knots. Our physical body tells us this. We know the knots in the backs of our shoulders. We know the knots in our thinking. When we can't think clearly, when we are upset about something and it's the only thing we can think about. This is the beginning. The life activation is beginning, because when that light, which your life activation practitioner has trained so many hours to be able to bring that balance to you, but also to be able to bring that light to you from outside our matrix and into that holy space, which is the DNA. That light helps you to really see yourself spiritually, your gifts, your life purpose. And as that happens, then the light is switched on in your life. And then comes the space of hope. Oh my gosh, if this light really exists, if this light really is part of what life is supposed to really be about, then we can create that for ourselves using the tools of Empower Thyself, using the tools of initiation, and bring that daily healing into our lives for ourselves. Now, in that process, there is a lot of healing going on inside, but very often part of that is forgiving ourselves.
Forgiveness, yeah.
And that forgiveness is for the ways in which we have judged ourselves, the ways in which we have been hard on ourselves, but also the ways in which maybe we haven't stepped up when we had the opportunity to. But the tools of initiation really give us an empowerment to connect to that oomph inside ourselves.
Really.
Yes,
This
right.
truly that.
Because once we understand energy, then we can direct it.
Truly.
But when we understand that that is possible inside ourselves, then true compassion begins to flow, because we see our brothers and sisters, we see the people that we love in our lives, and we have so much more compassion because we know we've been there too, and we are there. And because that is the case, we want that for them, but we also, but using the tools that we have, we can really help bring light for them as well, so that they begin to develop hope as well. This is the essence of change. This is the essence of inner peace, the essence of peace throughout our world, but also it sets a charge. It's like a catalyst for real healing in our lives. True healing. It's about self-knowing, knowing yourself. That is the path. And because it is a path in the mystery school, it's different from other things. It's different from other things that I've seen, because there's always that ability to progress, to evolve, and especially to know ourselves. Because as we begin to know ourselves, then we can begin to heal. Then we can be not only peaceful inside, but we can be part of that creation of peace in our world. And be part of that anchoring of Shambhala. Not only for ourselves, but for every human being on this planet, and for all the other races that desire to live alongside us in peace and in unity.
Dr. Ann, thank you so much for your passion and your amazing insights. And I have one more question for you. I was talking with Philip the last time also about the initiation and empower thyself. And it is, as I remember, that we are also become sealed in the light, and that we receive tools that really empowers us, which gives us a level of independency. Which means, as I see it in my life, I can truly walk on a path of healing myself and becoming a more and more independent being, and live what is inside of me, like what is my heart like wishing for, my being, and walk that without, like, kind of without asking for another authority in my life.
Yes.
And this is one of the greatest gifts I truly have received, like my true inner authority. Maybe you can just from that give us maybe an insight about independency and empowerment from your perspective, which also comes with the empowered self initiation.
Yes. The difference between working in the medical community and working with, my mystery school colleagues, we have a physical body, yes, and we have to have responsibility for that. And what the mystery school does is it gives you tools where you can take personal responsibility. And that's what I love. It's such it is a path of empowerment, a path of personal responsibility, a path of knowing yourself, yes. Even in Empower Thyself, you were given a particular meditation called the Sanctuary Meditation, where you can go visit your higher self. No one else has to be your guru. It's about you, and you are the key. This is such an important piece to this work. So when I started in medicine, it was very paternalistic. You went to the doctor, you took the advice from the doctor. I remember once asking a patient what they would like to do. I give them options. And they said, well, doctor, you tell me, because you're the doctor. But they were so used to experiencing that paternalistic way of being that they were confused by the idea that I was giving them choice. But that is true. We do have choice.
Yeah.
And the mystery school gives us those choices. Not only in a physical level, because we have to continually take responsibility for our physical body too. We need to give it adequate nutrition and exercise, manage our stress, which is a constant thing in this everyday world. And we need to manage our mind. But we also have to manage ourselves energetically. And that, what I love about the tools in the school is that we can work, yes, on many levels. Once you work with the spirit, which is where everything is manifested, then you can work on these other levels too. Now, we will always need a degree of physical medicine, at least for the foreseeable. So it's nice to have a foot in both worlds and to understand how to look after our physical body as we evolve, as we move into this new era. But it's very, very important that each individual knows themselves well enough to be able to take the responsibility to find what it is that works for them. Because there is a path. We know that this is thousands of years old. It's tried and tested. It's been audited. We know that it works.
Yeah.
So there is a science to what we do as well. And for those who choose the path, who walk the path, they find the changes within themselves. They report the changes within themselves. The testimonials are really quite something. So yes, it's really remarkable what is possible. And that's what I desire for everyone.
Amazing. And as you said, it is not kind of a walking the path in the modern mystery school. It's not a kind of a lifestyle where we are just up in the clouds or just in the spiritual realms. It is really having both feet in both worlds, and really contributing to this physical world and to humanity, as
Yes.
This is what I have experienced. And so thank you so much for your amazing insights, Dr. Ann. I'm just dropping here. We have the Sacred Geometry class, level 1 and level 2 coming to Berlin, Germany, because you have spoken about it. 19th and 20th of August.
Excellent. Please go. You must experience this class. But I actually recommend having a life activation before you do. Personally, I find that if you have a life activation before you go to these classes, there's something about the way in which this amazing information rests with you. And if you can't have it before, have it around that time, because it'll give you that ability to just absorb it, but also really, the best way to describe it is, yes, these classes have an alchemy to them. And I find the life activation is like the catalyst.
Yeah.
So I recommend that. But of course, you can simply go to the class itself as well, but please consider that.
Yeah. Yes. Yeah. And from that on, we also have the next Empower Thyself initiation classes happening in Germany. Also very, very soon. It is the next weekend, which is the 10th and 11th of July, on a beautiful castle in Germany, in Montabaur with Philipp Schart. And then also again in August 21st and 22nd with Shani Lera. She's coming again. And Dr. Ann, is there still something on your heart, what you want to share, something coming through from your side, what you want to give the people who are listening to that on their way?
Well, I would say that these are incredible self-care tools. If you find yourself, it doesn't matter what walk you are in life, you will find that this will help you manage your life on so many levels. This is for moms, dads, it's for executives, it's for anyone who's doing creative work, it's for everyone, healthcare professionals, those who are in the healing profession, it's for anyone who works with animals, it's for anyone who works in growing plants, toiling with the hands, whatever it is you're doing in life. When you use these tools, your connection to the very atoms of everything that you are working with, it makes a huge difference. it gives you a passion, and it awakens that love of life that we all desire inside us. And I know every one of us desires to be more connected to light and life and love and passion and to each other. So gift yourself these tools. Gift yourself this remarkable healing, the life activation. Gift yourself Empower Thyself initiation. And if you get the opportunity, gift yourself the galactic activation. The third key to that evolutionary process. And if you decide to walk on the path, the healer's path, the warrior path, the Kabbalistic path, whatever it is, you will get more information about that on the Empower Thyself 2 days. Galactic activation is something different again. It's acknowledgement of ourselves, not only as physical and eternal, but galactic. We're part of this great galaxy, this great universe. And we have an incredibly important part to play in that. And if you have been feeling not part of this world, if you felt disconnected in some way or other, the galactic activation will really speak to you. And the only prerequisite for that is a life activation.
Yeah.
And it's an incredible 2 days. It's an incredible 2 days.
Yeah.
So do think about that as well.
Yeah. Amazing, Dr. Ann. Truly, I just also can highly recommend that. And for those who may be interested, I know Dr. Ann also from the Healers Academy and from the Galactic Activation. And it was just a holy treat for me.
Oh.
And yeah, I would say, Dr. Ann, this was an incredible insight in your life and your path, and also on the path of the Modern Mystery School. And I thank you so much for your time, for your being, and I hope to see you soon also in the international programs.
I really look forward to that, Marion. I really look forward to that. And I'm excited for Germany with all the wonderful classes, including Empower Thyself, and yourself as a life activation practitioner working where you are. So yes, I'm really delighted that you are there and you are doing this amazing work. Thank you.
Thank you so much. And also everybody who is considering to have a DNA and life activation, we have myself located in Berlin together with Ellie Wiesmüller, also located in Berlin. And we have also Philip Schart located at another place in Germany. And you can find us just through your desire of connection. So saying that, thank you so much.
You're very welcome, Marion. It's been a total pleasure. Thank you for having me.